Hello and welcome to the first session we're doing online as part of the filmmaking workshops. This is the animation session. So this is for anybody who's interested in creating animation, a bit like the Scotland Our New Home films that we made last year. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you different types of animation, and then I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how animation works, how we do a bunch of drawings, and then we turn those into a film and we make them move. And then what we're going to do is we're going to look at this shot from the Scotland Our New Home film, and I'm going to show you how I came up with the image of that and how I turned it from a drawing into an animated shot, and the things I was thinking about when I did that to make it as interesting as possible. I'll also be showing you how to use Photoshop and After Effects to create animation in the computer after you've done drawings on paper. So this first type of animation, this is hand-drawn animation. And the way it works is that I draw pictures and then I scan them into the computer and color them, and then I cut different parts of them out in the computer. So the girl there in the hand, that's separate, that's cut out, and then the background is another drawing. And then I move those in the computer. So it looks like I'm doing lots of different drawings, but actually it's just two drawings being moved on the screen. A bit like if you took bits of paper and you cut them out into shapes and then you move them around. That's sort of like what you're doing inside of the computer. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to teach you how to do this type of animation today. And we're going to look at one of the shots and I'll show you how I made that. And so this is computer animation. You might have seen Pixar films. Well, this is that type of animation. So this is all created inside of the computer. And I've made this character, this robot, and then I've animated it in the computer. So that's computer animation, or CGI animation, which is computer-generated images. And this is a combination of video footage of Kelvin Grove Park in the background, and then there's a CGI robot, and there's a hand-drawn person. Now, the hand-drawn person, it's actually called, it's a very complicated name, but the name for it is rotoscoping. And what that means is that you draw, or rather trace, over the top of the person that you filmed, so that you get all of their movements right. You turn the video into a series of images, and then you draw over those images, and you turn it into an animation. So that elderly man there you're looking at with the scarf, that's me. And that was me in our kitchen, so I'm going to show you the original footage now. Now this looks rather silly, but I'm using my movements to work out what the Viking's cape would be doing, and what his arms would be doing, and how his mouth is moving as he says these words. And then what I do is I go back and I draw over that. I turn it into a series of JPEG pictures, and I draw over the top of it. And if you want to know more about that, just come and talk to me in the class, or you can email me at the email address at the bottom of the screen here. And the last type of animation that I'm going to show you is visual effects, which is like computer animation with the robot, but it looks realistic, and that's what you see all of the time when you're watching things like The Avengers or Black Panther, big special effects films, and things like dinosaurs and robots and those sorts of things. That's visual effects, but it's also a form of animation. So you can see here that I've created a baby dragon. And I drew that and animated that in the computer. So now we've covered the main types of animation that you'll find. Now let's look at how animation works. Animation is really just a series of drawings, and you photograph them and you put them on a screen, and then you show those drawings one after another very quickly. And if each of those drawings is only a little bit different to the one before, you get the illusion of movement. And so you can see that here. You can see this is working on Disney films, and you can see the artist working and comparing one drawing to the next. And then once they've done that, they photograph and look at those. And then if they like that, they go and they trace over them, and then they paint them. And that becomes an animation. And there are 24 or 25 images on the screen every second of the film. So, for example, there's a film called Snow White, and this film had 250,000 drawings in it, and it's only 80 minutes long, and it took 2 years to make, and there were 750 people working on it. So animation takes a very, very long time to do in this way, but we can do it a lot quicker than that by using different techniques, which we're going to look at next, and that way you can do a shot in about an hour. So, just before we start looking at how to animate a shot, I'm just going to talk very quickly about the most important thing in animation, and that is how to create the illusion of motion. So, we do this by doing a series of drawings, and each one is slightly different to the next. Then we play those back quite quickly, and we get the illusion of motion. So here you can see a series of drawings of a circle. When it's played back quickly, you see a ball bouncing on the ground. And the reason for this is we've created the illusion of motion. We've created the illusion that it's moving across the screen. And that's probably the most important thing you need to understand about animation. And the best way to learn about that is from a very good animator called Richard Williams, and he did a book called The Animator's Survival Kit, which you can order in the library. There's also one of his classes available on YouTube, and it's called Timing and Spacing, and I'll put the link to that video below this video. Also, he did a series of videos, and if you want to see those, I can lend you the DVD of all of his classes. So just get in touch with me and I'll bring it into the class for you. So now we're actually going to talk about how to create an animation, and the first thing we're going to talk about is ideas. And so I'm going to show you some of the shots from Scotland, our new home, and tell you about how I came up with the ideas for some of the images. So this first one of a stone man who looks very sad and the people going by outside, that image is based on a combination of two paintings that I saw. One of the paintings is this one, and this is by an artist called Salvador Dali, and he was quite crazy, and he was around in the 50s and 60s, and if you go to the Kelvin Grove Museum, you'll find some of his paintings there. And so that's of two stone people. And the other image was this painting, and this is by a guy called Lowry. And again, in the Kelvin Grove Museum on the ground floor, you'll find some of his paintings there. And the way he draws stick people, I thought that was quite interesting. And so I thought I would draw the people going by on the street in the background in that way. And the people who are walking, I've learned how to animate them directly from that book that I mentioned, The Animator's Survival Kit by Richard Williams. And this image actually was based on another drawing I did quite a while ago for a book cover. And this is the original image, and I liked it so much that I thought I could use it again. So I redid it, and this is what it became in the animation. And lastly, this shot was inspired by a poster I saw for an animated film called The Song of the Sea. And if you look at the waves there, there's lots of circles in them and they curve a lot. And I really like that image and I really like the strong colours. So I was thinking of that when I came up with that image. And the other thing I would do a lot is just sketch in a notebook and come up with lots of different ideas, and lots of them didn't work, but the ones that I really liked I put into the video. So I'd recommend having a notebook and just jotting down ideas, and try not to think about it too much, just draw and see where your imagination takes you. So this was the first sketch I did for this shot, and I've just done it very quickly on a sheet of paper, and then I've traced all of the different bits onto different sheets of tracing paper. So I'll show you how I did that on this shot. So the first thing to think about is how to keep your animation as simple as possible. You want to work as quickly as possible because animation takes a really long time. So if you're thinking of making an animated film, you have to allow for at least an hour for every single shot. So it's going to take a good number of hours to make an animated film. So when I first came up with the image of this shot, I was thinking about what I could do with it when I animated it to make it interesting. So I decided it would be interesting to make the people wave about as if they're being sucked into this hole, and to have the cases and the person be sucked past them. And also then to have the camera move back because it makes it more interesting. And then I've also made the camera shake as well, as if it's caught in a really strong storm and it's very windy. So here's the two layers of tracing paper, one on top of the other. And these were traced over the sketch that I originally drew for the shot. And then I've scanned these two bits of paper and I brought them into the computer and then turned them into layers that I can animate in Photoshop. So here's the background, and here's the characters and the plant and the cases. Okay, so let's jump into Photoshop and start animating. So this is the latest version of Photoshop. Clyde College, I would expect, have other versions of it. If not this one. They may have it on the Mac. This is on a Windows system, so it may be slightly different, but a lot of the things will apply. If they don't have it, and if you have access to a computer, you can get a trial version of it for 30 days for free if you go online to adobe.com. So the first thing I'm going to do is drag in one of the images, and that'll open it in Photoshop. So I'll just turn off the extras there. So at the moment it's in the form of a background, and the first thing we want to do is turn that into a layer. So we turn that into a layer. That's now our foreground. Second thing we do is bring in the background. There we go, that's the background as well. I've just dragged that in. And then we rasterize that layer. And that means we can now edit it. So we've now got the two layers, and I'm going to put that one behind the background, behind the characters. So first thing we do is we prepare the layers so that we can start coloring them in. So if you look here at the image, you can see the creases of the paper. So you want to get rid of that. So the quickest way to do that is to go up to Image, go to Adjustments, and then go to Levels. So if you click on Levels, you can change the level of black and the level of white. So you're just making the image as contrasty as possible, just by moving the black and the white values. So there you go, it's very clean now and nice. So we press OK on that. I don't know if you can see, but it's kind of got a purple color that it must have picked up when I scanned the image. So I'm going to remove that. So I go to Image, Adjustments, and then I go to Hue Saturation, and I just drag the saturation down to nothing and press OK. It's now in black and white. And now we're going to do the same to the background as well. So let's select the background there. Move to that. And then we'll do the same thing. So we'll go adjustments, levels, and then bring the black up, bring the white down. So it's really nice and clean. So there's no grey in it, just black and white. We go OK. Do the same thing again. I'll just get rid of the colour. You might not have to do this, but my scanner picks up a strange colour in that. So now it's black and white. So now we've got the two layers. Okay. So the next thing I'll do is press save. And let's say test shot. Save that as a Photoshop document. That way it saves both layers. Go to the top layer here. And what we want to do now is set this up so it becomes a transparent layer with just a black outline so that we can start coloring it. So the way that we do that is we press Control A and Control C. And the other way you can do that is to go select all, and then you go to edit and copy. So you're copying everything there. And then what you want to do is you want to delete that. And then you go down to this little icon here. This is the quick mask mode, and you press that, and then you press Control V. And you can see now it's got a red outline, and it's got rid of the background. So that's almost what we want. Now you press the same quick mask mode button there again, and turn it back to standard. And now what you've got is an outline of your drawing, but there's nothing in it at the moment. There's no color. So what you want to do is you want to go up to select and press inverse. So now it's selecting not the blank spaces, but the actual lines itself. Now, where you've got your color here, you want to select black. And then just move the bucket tool, this tool here, which you can find here. Just move it over the line and paint into it. And then what you do is select and press deselect. Okay? So now you've got the black outline on a transparent background, which is exactly what you want. And now we're going to do the same for the background. And there's actually a quicker way of doing this. So if you're going to do lots of shots that you're going to animate, it takes quite a while to do this, to set it up in this way, to turn it from a drawing into black outlines on a transparent layer. So you can actually speed that up by using a thing called actions here. Actions are fantastic because they actually allow you to record what you're doing and then do it again. So I'll show you what I mean. So if you go to Windows and Actions, it will bring up this window. So let's just do it again. And then you can select a new action, and we will call this outline. So we're going to make an outline, and we go record. So it's now going to record everything we do on the screen. So what we're going to do is we're going to press Control A and Control C, and then we're going to press delete, and then we're going to press the quick mask button, and then we're going to press Control V, and then we're going to press the quick mask button again, and then we're going to press Control Shift I, and then we're going to paint in the outline, and then we're going to press Control D, and then we're going to press stop. And this is brilliant. This is a really, really handy thing to do. One thing I'd recommend you do, by the way, is save regularly by pressing Control S. What we do now, just to show you what a difference that's made, is I'll bring in this drawing again. And let's get rid of that one. And let's go rasterize layer. So the way I'm doing that is I'm right-clicking on the layer, and then I go to rasterize, so that means we can now edit it. And now, this is brilliant. If you go to the outline action which we've just created and highlight that and then press play, it does everything we just did to the other one. So now it's all ready to animate. So we've saved ourselves about 5 minutes there. And if you're animating a lot of layers, it's a really quick way of preparing your layer for coloring and animation. So what I'm going to do is just add a white background to this video. So I press Control Shift N to create a new layer. And then I'm going to select white there and use the paint bucket tool. And now we've got a white layer, and I'll drag that to the bottom. And if I double click on the words layer 1, I can change that to background. So now we've got our background. Then I press Control S to save. So that's us all ready to animate now. So let's begin with the characters. What I would do is create a new layer again. So I can either go down here to the little icon for new layer, or I can press Control Shift N again. I'm going to do that. And then what I'm going to do is grab this tool, which is the quick selection tool. Now, an interesting thing about the quick selection tool is that the bigger the size of it, so up here it's 6 at the moment, the bigger the size of it, the wider the area it selects, and the less careful it is about selecting things. So you can see at the moment it's selected a big area. Well, we don't want to do that, so I'll press Control D, which deselects everything, and then I'll make the size small again, down to about 10, say, and then I'll draw it there. You can still see it's quite big, but that'll be all right. And then when I want to take off an area of selection, so you can see it's selected the person's jumper and arm here, I hold down the Alt key, and then I draw over the arm and the jumper. So now it's just selecting the branch, and I'll just select the other bit of the branch there, and I'll take off that bit as well, and I'll select that bit as well. Great. So now we've got that selected, and you can see there's a zigzag around it. And then we're going to select the color. So I'm going to go up here, and I'm going to choose choose this green. And then I go back to the paint bucket, and I paint that on just by selecting it and press Control D. And what I'll do is I'll select that to multiply. So this layer is now multiplied over the sketch layer there. So now we've got our first bit of color in it. So now we can actually move quite quickly, and I'm just going to color in very fast. I tend to do it very quickly because I get bored of it. So we go. I just select that and do the same thing. There's a bit missing there. I press Control D again. I don't worry about being too precise. The basic idea is just to get some color so that I can start animating as quickly as possible. I'm going to do a different color of green there. So select a different color. You just select the box there and just click it, and then it allows you to move through the colors and through the shades. So again, I'm just going to go here. I'm just going to select this bit. That all looks fine. Selected the right area. It's selected a bit of our trousers there. I'll just take that off by holding down Alt again. I'm going to select this leaf as well. And that little bit in there maybe. And that little bit there. And there. And then let's paint that in. See how that looks. Right, I don't like that. So let's change that and make that brighter actually, because that would look better. No, I don't like that. Also, I need to paint in there. There. There we go. No, a bit more. So there's a bit of a mistake there. So I can just take that out. There. And then press delete. And that will empty that. Save it again. Always trying to save it. Right. Now what I could start doing, I'll just erase that. There's a bit of a mistake there. So you select the eraser tool there and paint in that shape. There. What I can start doing is creating another layer on top of that. I could make that white maybe. And select the pen tool. And let's make it quite large, and it's very soft already, and we'll lower the opacity right down, and I'm going to start painting in, make it a bit brighter maybe. So what I like to tend to do is to mix colours together. You don't need to worry that it's going over the black at the moment, because what you're going to do is take that black line and put it over the top. So now you get a bit of variation, because you've got the light colours there, so over the top, and it just gives it a bit of depth. So I'll just go back a little bit and just show you. The other thing I would tend to do is I would make a bit of it dark as well. I see that's too dark. You tend to get black tends to have a very strong influence on an image, so I tend to go for shades of a darker colour. So there we go. You can see I'm bringing in a bit of darkness there. Just deselect that, and then I'll take the outline and I'll put that over the top. So that's the way you start to build up the colours. So what I'm going to do now is quickly go through it, and I'm just going to colour everything in on this layer so you can see how I do that. And I'll just speed it up so it doesn't take so long. Now, I've actually made a mistake here, which is a mistake I make quite a lot, which is I've started colouring in the ink line instead of a separate layer. So what I'm actually going to do is fix that. So the way you do that is you lock the pen layer. So I've combined both the pen layers and the colour layers now. So I'll show you how I'll correct this. I'll bring in the first layer again. There it is. And I'm going to rasterize it again. And then I'm going to adjust the brightness very quickly. Okay, and then I'm going to change the saturation. Go OK to that, and then I'll do the outline, which is there. There we go. So now I've fixed the outline, because you can see it's disappeared there where I've coloured it in. And this time I'm going to save this, and then I'm going to lock the top layer so that I can't paint over it, which is great. So I'll go back down to the colour layer again and just finish off colouring this in. And one thing you can do is you can press Ctrl+ to zoom into an image, or you can use the navigator as well, which is under here. So Ctrl+ and minus will allow you to zoom in and out of an image. So I'm just going to make this 3, so it's very small, and I'm going to go into this little shape here, holding down Alt there just to help select it. There we go. It's just doing that. Bit tricky. There we go. And press delete. And I'll just select this bit as well. Press delete again. So there we go, that's nice. And I'll just save that. So you can see it's starting to build up now. Set the faces. If you press I, it gives you the eyedropper tool. You can hold down I and then press the mouse click, and that will select the color that's under the eyedropper, which is really handy. So I can just go darker here. I'm just going to create a bit of shade on this plant. I'm going to increase the opacity a little bit. There we go. I'm actually bring it up a bit more. I'm actually going to bring it stronger saturation as well because I prefer the colour of it. There we go. Quite like that. That's good. And I'm just going to add a bit of variety to the hair because I feel that's a bit flat, and the jumper as well. So again, I'll select eye. I'm going to select a darker version of that. Go into the pen tool and just paint that in. It's not really attached there. I'm just going to undo that by compressing Control, Alt and Z. Let's make it more saturated. There we go, that's more interesting. And we'll do the same here as well, just randomly painting it there just to give it a bit of variety. Do the same with the shirt here. Press I again. Just give it some different textures. There we go. And just the change in tone just helps give it a more 3D feel to it. What I could also start to do is put in a bit of shadow under here as well. So I could just put that. So what I'm doing here is I'm going to expand this shape because this is too small. You can see there's a white line around that if I zoom in there. And so that will actually be transparent when I bring it into animation, so I actually just need to fill that in. And the way you do that is go to Select, Modify, and then you can select Expand, and let's expand it by 5 pixels, that'll do. And then I'm just going to paint over the colour by pressing the I key and then painting that in. There we go, just so it's not transparent. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the ink layer and the paint layer together. And you do that just by pressing, I think it's Control E, and that will move the layer that you selected down one and combine it with the layer below it. And now we're going to start painting the background layer. So what I'm doing now is I'm building up different layers of color, and the reason I'm doing that, so I'm working on a different layer to the background layer, is that I might want to change the colors later on. So by separating them I can do that. I'm going to press Control Shift I to invert that selection. I'm going to do the same thing again here. So that's working. Let's select this again. I'm going to do this. And I'm going to find some medium color between the two. I'm going to blend these two slightly. So it gives a 3D feel to it. Now these are on the shadow side. I'm imagining that the light is coming from this direction. So I'm just going to paint that in. I've lowered the opacity, so I'm going to bring that up. And I'm going to add a little more shade to that, lowering the opacity again. So it's really darker in the cracks there. So you get a bit of a 3D feel. Actually going to do a bit more than that. Like that. Okay, that's working. Let's see what we can do with that. I don't actually like the color of it. I don't think it sits quite right, so I'm actually going to go back and change that by selecting hue saturation. Oh, that's quite nice. I like that. So, like that. I like that. So, save that. Mix that with the background layer, which is this one. So to do that, I press Control E. So those two layers are together now. We've still got the pencil layer over the top of it. I'm going to create a new layer between the two there. I'm going to start working on the sky and just do a bit more to it. Okay, so that's all of the colouring done now, and I'm just going to have a look and see if I want to keep it like that or change it. So what I'll do is unlock the pen line and then press Control E, which combines the layers. And once more, so that's all of the background layers and that's all of the foreground layers combined now. So I'm just going to have a look and just play with the hue, the colour of the background layer. Okay, so I actually want to change it. So what I'm going to do is select that layer, select Control. Well, what I can do, I'll show you, is if you right click on it, you can go down to duplicate layer. So I make 2 copies of the layer now. So I take the top one, and what I'm going to do, I like the, if I turn that off, I like the background color to be one layer, and I want this cloud to be a different layer. So what I'll do is press Control Shift I and then delete. So now I just have the cloud, and that's separate from the rest. So what I'm going to go in and do is I'll turn that back on, look at the background, and go in here and change the colors of it until I like most of it, which is, I quite liked it. there. I quite like that. But what I want to do is change the cloud because I don't like the green. So I want to change that independently. Probably to something dark blue. Yes. Okay, so that's that. And then I'll do the same thing again. I press Control E. That combines both of the background layers. And then the last step, I'll just rename this, is to background. So you click on where it says layer 2, change that to background. And now what I'm going to do is set up the foreground layer. So what I'm going to do is select this tool. This is the lasso tool. And I'm going to separate this layer into different pieces for animation. So for example, what I'll do is I'll cut out this case. I'll press Control C and Control V. So that creates a copy of it. I go back down to that layer again, turn off that new case, do the same for this case. Oh, try to make sure I don't cut out anything else. Control C, Control V. Do the same again. Select this person. Control C, Control V. Same with this case. Control C, Control V. Oh. This person. Control C, Control V. And this one. Okay, so that's some of those layers set up now. Now what I need to do is to set up these three characters. So I can do this one fairly easily. I'll just cut around them. And press Control C, Control V. And then this one becomes a bit more difficult. And I'll explain why in just a moment. So I'll cut them out roughly for now. And then I'm going to turn off the background layer and have a look at this because it's not quite right. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to get rid of the edge of that other character's hand by deleting that. I get rid of the thing around their feet there. That's not quite right. It's taking a bit with it, so I'll press Alt there. There we go. Just get rid of those bits. Okay, and then that leaves a problem with this hand. So, because I didn't draw it, and we might need it. So what I'll do is I'll copy this part, just with the lasso tool, and I'll paste that. And then what I'm doing, I'll show you. So I've pasted it, and then I press Control T, which will select everything on that layer, and I rotate it just by moving the mouse around it. And then I pick it up by just clicking down on it and drawing it over here. So this is now going to become this arm. Like that. Now there's a slight problem there because I haven't got rid of what's behind it. So I go to the eraser tool and I select this layer. I'm just going to paint that out. Put that layer back on again. And let's go Control T again. Let's go in and have a look at that. There we go, that'll do. Press Control E. So that's now one layer. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to blend that, select Paint tool, and then select I, and then B, and paint over it so it matches. Control D, and then save that. Zoom out of that. That's the person set up now. And then the last thing to do is this section here. So do the same thing again. Go down to this layer, grab all of this, just roughly. and Control C and Control V, and that's it. So we don't need this layer anymore. So now we need to just fix this one up and do the same thing. It's easy enough. So we'll just cut out this hand. Cut this foot out. And take some of this. That's from the scan. Control D, Control Save. So that leaves us with the problem of this hand and how to fix that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cheat. I'm going to take this bit here. Control C, Control V, Control T. Turn it around. That's just a quick way of fixing that. I'll do. Control E. So it's now on the same layer. And then we just need to paint in this gap here, which won't take a moment. Okay. So save that. I'm going to do it on a new layer, actually. So I can put it behind color. I'm going to select that. Color over the black outline there. And then I press Control E. And that's it. Will do. Okay, so that's the layers set up, ready for animation. So let's say thistle. So this is the layer here. I'm going to name them all now. Let's say so I'm just naming them random things, just so that they're easy to find and they're not just called layer. And that's it. Now we're ready to animate. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take that and we're going to move into After Effects. So we just save that, Control S, and we can close this and open up After Effects and start animating this now. Okay, so this is After Effects. Your version of it may look slightly different, but the controls are pretty much the same. Some of the commands that I'll be doing on the keyboard may be different on a Mac, but again, you should be able to follow me. So this area here is where all of your footage is contained and all of your drawings. This is the timeline. This is where you animate. And this is the preview window where you can see what your animation looks like. And these are the effects. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to bring in our Photoshop file that we just created. So I'll just drag that in and I drop it in here in the footage area. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to select editable layer styles, and what that means is that rather than bringing it in as a clip like a video you might shoot on your phone, it will bring it in as all the individual layers that you created in Photoshop. So I press OK on that, and then you can see that we've now got our drawing in here. So if I double click on this, you'll see all the different layers. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to create a composition. And we're going to animate in our composition. So I'm going to press, you'll see that I've pressed this icon here, and that creates a new composition. Alternatively, you can go up to composition and create new composition here. Now, what you want is for it to say HD TV. So it says 1920 pixels across and 1080 pixels high. And that means that it's an HD image. So if you're showing this on a screen, you want it to be in HD for the best quality. And then you can choose whether you want your frame rate to be 24 images every second or 25 images a second. In America, it's 24, but here we use 25. So I'm going to say that's okay. And then the last thing you need to look at is how long you want your animation to be. Well, this shot's going to be about 6 seconds long, I would say. So we put in 0.6. And then we press OK. And now we've got a 6-second long clip there. And this is the play. It's called the playhead. And when you click on it with your mouse and drag it along, you can see that it moves along the timeline and it will be showing you your clip. So the next thing we do is we're going to select all of the layers. So the way you would do that is you select the top layer, you go down to the bottom layer, you hold down Shift, and then you click on the bottom layer, and that will select all of them. The other way of doing it is you can select the top layer and just press Control A, and that will select everything, and then Control C, which will copy everything. Then you select here on your new composition, and you just click into it, and then you press Control V, and that will bring in everything. Now you can see that they're too big at the moment, so what we do is we press the letter S for scale, and then we're just going to reduce the size of all the layers, say to about there, and we just drag that into the shot there. We'll just scale it up a bit more. That's about right there. That'll do as a start. Then what I'm going to do is just collapse all of these. You can see it's got the scale of each one of those at the moment. So press Control A, and then you've got the little arrow here. You click that, and it will change all of the arrows on all of them. So now what we need to do is to make all of the layers 3D so that we can animate them. So we select all the layers again, Control A, and then you'll see a little icon here for this. This means 3D. It's got a box. And if you don't see it, you just need to press the toggle switch. So you can't see it now, but if you press the toggle switch along the bottom of the screen there, you'll see it. And that shows you the 3D. And then with all the layers selected, you press the box. And now, although you can't see it, all the layers have become 3D. So let's start working on that. We're going to turn off the other layers, and you just drag the mouse over and click down on the icon there. So these little eye icons, just like in Photoshop, means you can see them. And then what you'll see is that you can move the layer that's in 3D now up or down by clicking and dragging on the green arrow, or left or right by clicking on the red arrow, or backwards and forwards by clicking on the blue arrow and moving it up and down. So it's not getting bigger and smaller, it's actually moving closer to you and further away from you. And if you hold down Shift, it'll allow you to move it quickly. So I'm actually going to move it quite far away, and I'll explain why in a minute. And then I'm going to make the picture bigger. Like that. Okay, we're not going to use that layer, so I'll turn that off. And this person's going to be closest to the screen, so I'm actually going to bring them up the top. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to make them closer to us. I'm going to move them in there. And then I'm going to shrink them by pressing S again, which is the scale, and I'm just going to shrink them down. Maybe a bit bigger. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to do two things, which are quite important. One of them is this thing here. I don't know if you can see it. There's a little icon, and that is called the anchor point. And so you need to change that. And you do that by selecting this icon, anchor point. And then that allows you to move this to the point you want to change. So I'll show you what I mean. When I'm scaling it up now, you can see I'm making it bigger and smaller. It's making it bigger with the center of the image being where that point is. So if I make the point here, and then I make it bigger and smaller, you can see it's this bit. Yeah? So that's quite important. I'll explain why in a minute. So let's just make it about that size. Now, what we need to do is to move it in 3D. Let's have it there. Let's move it up a little bit. And now what you need to do is you need to create a camera, a virtual camera that you can move in your virtual 3D scene. So what you do is you right click and you click new, and then you select camera. And then don't worry about the settings here, just press OK. And now you've got a camera. So now what you can do is you can move that camera. So if you go up here, there'll be an icon that looks like this at the top of a camera. And if you click down on that, you'll see it says Track Z Camera Tool. If you click on that, and then you move it over the picture, you'll see this icon here. And then when you click on it and move it up and down, it actually allows you to move in the shot. So you're now moving in 3D, and you can see the person getting closer and further away from you. So that's something I use a lot in animation, and it allows you to give the illusion that things are moving even when they're still. So the next thing I'm going to do is set up the different characters. So this person here, I'm going to set them up. And I'm going to move the anchor point over their hand here, because this is the bit that connects with the other one. And then I'm going to move them in 3D until their hand is actually over the other person. So I'm going to hold down Shift to move them quickly. There it is. So you can see now they're in front of the other character. See? So now I just move that hand over that hand, and when I go and press S for scale and shrink them down, it will shrink around the point of the hand. So how does that look? That looks good. So we'll save that. Press Control S to save, or you can go up to File and Save. And we'll call this Animation 1. So now we've saved that. Now try to save as regularly as possible. And then we'll set up the next character, which is this person here. And we'll do the same thing again. So we're going to move this anchor point over to these hands. There we go. And again, if I press, I think it's V, that changes it to the pointer tool. So we click on the Z. And again, I'm holding down Shift and I'm just moving the hands. Just move them in a bit more so I can see when they move in front of the other hand. There it is. So I'm going to put them behind this one, I think. And I'm going to scale them down by pressing S, like that. So we're getting close to setting up our characters for animation now. So now I'll show you how you animate. So one of the first things I should say is that the girl here, who's connected to this person here, the way you do that, you'll see if I move the person here, it's not moving the girl, but she should really be connected to this person because her hands are holding his. So the way you connect them is you would go to the girl here, and you've got the person here, and I'd put the person over the top of her, there. Let's just check it's that one, yep. And then I go to the girl, and you see this tool here. You've got this circle. You take that, you click on it, and it makes a little line come out of it, and you hold that down, and you move that until it highlights the person there. And then you'll see that it changes to this. So that's called parent and link. And what that means is, when I move this character, it moves the girl as well. So that's a very handy thing. So now what I can do is I can start to animate. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this character first. So I want the character to be wiggling about as if being blown by the wind. So what I'll do is I'll go here, I'll close that, and then I'll open it again. And you can see you've got this thing called transform here. And when you click down on it, it shows you all of the different controls that you can animate with. And it might look a bit complicated at the moment, but you'll get used to it very quickly. And the way this works is just by changing this, by clicking down on it and rotating it, like that, you can animate those characters. So that's what we want to do here. We want to do this. So the way you do that is you click on, you just try different ones out and see what they do, and then you can press Ctrl Z to undo it. So the way this works when you want to animate it is you click on this icon here. See these little stopwatches, little clocks there. You click on that and it will turn blue. And then what that's done is that's made a little dot here. And that means that at this moment on the timeline, you want the numbers to be this. So I'll show you what I mean. So if I move it along, say, to 3 seconds, and then I change the numbers to there, when I now play that, it goes between the two because it's created another blue dot there. So it's recording the movements that I make. See, so that's how you animate. It's fairly straightforward. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to wiggle it backwards and forth. So there. Another one there. There, like that. So let's have a look at that. See? I'm going to space it out a bit more so it slows it down. But that's pretty much how you animate. Let's have a look at that. Still a bit fast, I think. So you just try things out and see what you think works. And you just play it by pressing the space bar. You just move this playhead to the start and press space bar. So I like most of that, but I don't like the beginning because I think it's a bit slow, so I'm going to bring those forward. You do that just by dragging the mouse over them, like that, and then grabbing them, anything that's blue you've now selected, and just moving them, and then pressing play again. Yep, I like that. So what I'm then going to do is just copy those, select them, press Ctrl C, move it along to here. This is where I want it to start again, and I can press Ctrl V. So I'm going to get rid of that one. Okay, let's make the shot about that long. Okay, that's good. So I'm going to save that. And what I'm going to do, it's a little bit more complicated. I'm going to select the girl there. I'm going to rotate her. So I press R. You see, she's kind of doing that. There, like that. I quite like that. So I'm just going to have a look at the camera quickly and check that that works. So if I just play this, yeah, that seems fine. So I go up to the camera, and then there we go. We get a sense of what's happening there. That's just selecting that tool. So I'm going to select this one again, the pen tool, and I'm going to rotate the girl now. And as I said, because the anchor point is set here, when I do rotate her, it will be from this point, so where the hands are connected. So let's have a look and see which one it is. I think it's, yeah, it's that one. So I click down on that, and that's, see where she should start out. Let's start her out here, quite like that. And then he's going down like that, so I'm going to rotate her like that. And then as he's coming back up, I'm actually going to rotate her more. And he's going up here, and he stops there. So I'm actually going to flip her the other way there. Okay? I'm just going to see if this works. It might not, but we'll give it a go. And then he hits the bottom here. Let's just have a play of that. Yeah, that's nice. Let's save that. He's coming up again, so we just stop the playhead there. Let's rotate it back again. He's coming down again as he comes down. And again, you're trying, this is very much drawing from the animator I told you about, Richard Williams, and getting you to think about how you create the illusion of motion. So that as she's coming down, see, that's too much actually. So we want that to be a bit late. There we go. So it's as if she's actually connected to his arm. There we go. And then at the end there it's a bit slow. I don't like that. So we're actually going to speed that up. So I go back to him. We click down on that. Shows us all the settings there. We're actually going to make that faster. And then we're going to bring another one back down the other way. Like that. There we go. So we go back to her again. He's up there, and that's where she should go up like that. And then she's going to be there, like that. And you can see that this is actually outside the timeline. So this, by clicking on this, on the end of it, and dragging it in and out, that's how long your shot will actually be. This is the overall timeline that you're working on, and this is the length of the clip that you're going to turn into a video. So I'm going to actually only make it 5 seconds, so I don't need to worry about anything that happens after this point. So let's just play that and have a look at it. Okay, it's a bit fast at the end there. I don't like, just at the end there you can see it's, yeah, you can see that's a bit much, so it's a bit fast. So let's have a look. That might work. Let's have a look. So I just want to preview just the end of the clip there. So I'm just going to move this by clicking down on it and dragging it across. And now it will only play this section. Yeah, I like that. It's good. Okay, so let's play the whole thing. Yep, that's good. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the camera and I'm going to take this person. Where are they? This one, the thistle one. So this plant here. I'm going to put them in front actually. There, like that. In fact, I'm going to make them quite a way in front, I think. Let's play that. Okay, and I'm going to rotate them as well. So I press R, and I'm actually going to make, the anchor point by clicking here. I'm going to move that to this hand here. And then I'm going to rotate that. Nope, not that one. Control Z to undo that. I'm going to rotate this one. There we go. Quite like that. So it looks like they're reaching out towards them. There. Quite like that. So that's good. So, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to test the camera. I quite like that. Now the background is actually too far away, I think, because it's not really moving when I do that. So I'm going to select the background. I'm actually going to move it closer. So the way I do that, select it, go to Z, and then hold down Shift and move it towards the image. And when does it go through them? It goes through there. So let's put it there. And then I'm going to press S. I'm going to scale it down. And then I'm going to test the camera again. So I click that camera tool, go up, click the camera, let's move it backwards and forward. That's nice. I like that. That's really good. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to animate the camera. So I go here and here, and I'm just going to move it and see which one moves. So it's this one, it's position. So I'm going to click on position, and that's recording it and creating a blue dot now, as you can see. Move that back so I can look at the whole of the 5 seconds, and let's see where we want the animation to start. Let's start here, I think, and then let's move the camera as well. So I'll stick that there, and I'm going to click on this X and Y camera tool. So that allows you to move the camera up, left, right, and down. So I'm going to start the shot here, and you'll see that they're all changing there. Something I click on quite a lot, which annoys me, is that the program After Effects will automatically try to figure out what you're looking at and move the camera. And I don't like that, so I tend to turn that off. So the way you do that is you go to Layer, Transform, and it says Auto Orient. Click that, and then click that to off, and that will stop it from doing anything strange, because sometimes the camera does strange things, so you don't want it to do that. So let's start the image here, yeah? And at the end of it, let's say it's here. So it's probably going to be about there, and then let's zoom it out by clicking on that one, and let's do that, and let's move it a bit there, okay? And then I'm going to take that blue dot and I'm going to move it so it's at the very end of the shot there. So let's play it now. Okay, so I quite like that. It's starting to work. So one of the things you could do now is you can add motion blur to it, which is a really great thing to work with. It makes your animation look a lot better. There are a couple of things that will make this animation look really nice, and one of them is motion blur. And what motion blur is if you have a friend and they're running and you take a picture of them, you'll see that in the picture they look blurred. And that's motion blur, and you really want to add that in your animation to make it look nice and smooth. So what we do is we go right click, new, and then we go to adjustment layer. And what this means is it will make changes to everything here. Anything underneath the adjustment layer, it will affect. Then what you want to do is you want to go up to your effects and you type in pixel. And you'll see that one of these is pixel motion blur. And you click on that and drag it until it's on the adjustment layer. And then you let go of it. And now it's on there, you see. And now you can see it's blurred. So when it's still like that, it looks a bit strange because it's very blurry. But when you play it back, and I'll just do that now, I'll let it load, it blurs the image based on the way that the images are moving. The computer figures out what the blur should look like. And it's a really, really brilliant way of making something look better very quickly. So we'll just have a look at that now. Okay, so now it's loaded that, and now it's going to play it back. See? So it's really smooth now. It looks really nice already. Okay, so we're starting to get there. Only problem is it takes a bit of computer power to do that. So I'm just going to press Control S and save that. And then I'm going to turn off the adjustment layer. So it's not doing it every time at the moment. But we'll leave that on there. So it'll be there, and then we can turn it back on later, like that. Okay, so I'll turn it off just by clicking the eye tool. And let's go back and let's tidy up some of this animation now so that it looks really nice. We've got it. What I tend to do is to work very roughly and get something like this working, just so I have something that I like. And then I'll start tidying it up so it looks like a better animation. So a very quick way of doing that is if I select the person and I click down on that, and then you've got all of these dots here, so I'll select all of them just by clicking down with the mouse and dragging over them. And then if I right click over that, you've got a thing at the bottom here that says Keyframe Assistant. So what we're going to change that to is Easy Ease. And you'll see what happens when I do that. It makes it softer. So I'll show you it without it. It's very sharp. You can see it bumping. See it bump, 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 bump. But if you make it softer, it looks much nicer. So I use that an awful lot. So I'll do the same on the girl there as well. So go to her, and I'll select all of her dots, and then do the same thing again. So I just right click. You have to be actually holding the mouse over the dot, but if you do that and then you click Easy Ease, it will apply it to all of the dots that are lit blue. And so we do that, and that's it. I mean, that's pretty much already working. So again, I'll just show you, I'll add on the motion blur there. Let's have a look at that. And there you go. That looks really nice. That's already looking like a really nice animated shot, I think. Let's have a look at the other person. Press V to select that, and let's... Where's that? There they are. Okay, yeah, I'll use that one. Sometimes I don't use some of the characters that I draw. But that one's quite nice. So let's rotate that by pressing R. Let's see which one it is. It's, well, let's do that. That's quite nice. So it looks like they're being sucked down into the hole there. And let's rotate them like that. And let's make them a bit bigger. So let's press S like that. And then press V. And then let's start with them. Let's say at the start of the shot, which is here, they're going to be at that position. So we press P for position there. When I'm doing this, this is just shortcuts to get into this. So we've got the position, and then I would say within 1.5 seconds, they disappear into that hole there. So let's just do that. So I'm just dragging that and letting go of it, and you've got the 2 blue dots there now. And so they're going to disappear like that. So let's play that. Yeah, that's all right. I mean, it's not amazing, but it's okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to rotate them a bit more, I would say, like that. And let's save those as well. So let's click on both of those. And then by the time it gets to here, we want them to really be sort of sucked down. Let's have a look at that. I would say let's start with them bigger as well. So they could be this size. And then by the time they get to here, so it looks like they're far away, we're going to make them that size. So let's have a look at that. Yeah, that's brilliant. I love that. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to make them invisible at the end, so it looks like they're disappearing. So it says opacity here, and that just means whether you can see it or not. Same as in Photoshop. So at 0, it's like that, and at 100%, you can see them. So we want them to be 100, 100, and then I would say about here they start to disappear. So let's click this. This is to add another dot here, and then we just move it to here. And this is where we want them to have disappeared by, and we'll just stick that, and we'll turn that to 0. Let's just move this one a bit further forward. So they're going to take just a few frames to disappear. There you go. So let's play that. There you go. That's nice. I like that. Okay. And then we've got a small case here. Let's have a look at that. Where's that? See, I don't like that, actually. I'm not going to use this case. I'm just going to use one big case. I like this one. So we're going to work on him first. So I would try to do things that keep you interested, because this can be really boring sometimes. So I'm going to put the dot on his foot. So try to do the things that keep you interested and having fun doing this. So let's go position. And I'm going to move him here. So I'll show you how I do that. So you see the blue tool there? Just click on that and hold down Shift. Let's start him this size. So again, I'll just click on this. And let's say we're going to change the position, the scale, and probably the rotation as well. And let's move these actually to the start. So I've made them at the wrong point. I've made them here. And we want them at the start of the frame. So all I have to do is select all the dots, drag them to the start of the shot there. And we'll have him disappearing more slowly, I think. So let's say that at the end of almost 3 seconds, he's going to be in there as well. And then we want him to be a lot smaller by the time he gets there, like that. And then let's make him invisible as well. So from here, say, so let's make that 100% here. And then by the time he gets to here, he's going to be 0, so he'll have disappeared. So let's just have a quick look at that. Yeah, that works. Okay, so let's have a look at this. Okay, I want him to actually start at a different position. So I'm going to put him here. I'm going to rotate him around a bit. Like that. Let's try that. Okay. Okay, and then I'm going to bring him further back so that he travels further and quicker. And I'm also going to bring him closer to the camera as well. I'm going to have him disappear slightly later. So, let's see. Let's look at the position there. So as he's fading out like that. So I think we'll make that later. There. Okay. So that's starting to come together. Let's put in a case. And then that's pretty much it. Again, I'm not going to use this one, I don't think. There's a big one. Yeah, I'll use just this big one. Wow. Let's see. Actually, I will. I'll use this one. So what I'm going to do is start with that. Let's go position and scale. Let's click down on that. The anchor point. Let's move that again. Well, which is that. Just move that over. The case. It's going to move it out in 3D again. So there's the 3D. Hold down Shift. Where is it? I just moved it somewhere. There it is. That's too much now. There. I quite like that. So let's start it there on the first frame. Again, I've done it on the wrong frames there, so I'm just going to move those to the start. Where is it? There. Whoa. I'm going to start on that frame, and then let's say within 2 seconds, we'll just try it and see what happens. It's going to do that, and it's going to disappear like that. So let's have a look at that. Yeah, that's nice. And then what I think I'm going to do, just for fun, as it's going, I'm going to rotate it as well. Which isn't that one, it's that. I quite like that. So we'll just rotate it there. Let's have a look. Just turn it once, twice, 3 times, let's say. And then take that dot and I'm going to move it to that one. Let's have a look. Yeah, like that. That's nice. And we're going to do the same thing with the opacity. So 100 here. And then by the time it gets to here, going to drop that to 100, 0. There, like that. Let's have a look at that. Yeah, that's great. Let's make it a little later. So it takes a little longer to disappear so it doesn't just pop. There. Great. And then one last thing, which is I'm going to make it a bit smaller as well at the end. So we'll take the scale. Oh, we're just going to really shrink it down. So let's try that. That's it. Love that. Okay, so we've done that. And then let's add another case here. And again, we just fix the anchor point, move it across to there. It's the middle of the case. And again, let's say that this one goes by, and then maybe around here we'll have another one. So let's say, let's make key points. Whoops. Bring that to the beginning again. Key points, scale, position, and rotation. And I'm not quite sure what to do with it, so let's actually make it after this. So that one's disappearing there. And this shot is 5 seconds long. So maybe it will actually see it here. So let's move those to here. And let's change the position in 3D. Press V there. There, it's now gone out there. So let's move it over. There we go. Oh, that's good. I like that. So there, and it's going to be really quick. So let's shrink that right down and put it in there. And let's just test that and see what that looks like. Oh, okay. So you can see it's sitting there. It's just sitting, it's not doing anything. So what we're going to do is we're going to move it out of the camera here. And because these are clicked down, it will automatically note where we've moved it to, like that. There we go. That's nice. I don't know. I'm going to move it, actually. So I just grab it and drag it to here, maybe. Let's have a look at that. That's good. I like that. Okay, and then I would actually say that by the time we get to the end point, I actually think it's too big. So we're going to scale it right down. Let's try that. Let's have a look again. Okay, I quite like that. So let's do the same thing with the opacity. Let's put 100 here, and then it's just taking about half a second there to disappear. Drop that down to 0. Let's just have a look at that. Good. Okay, so I'm fairly happy with that now. Let's have a look at the overall shot. Let's pull that down. So it's the whole 5 seconds. Let's rewind it to the start and see what we get. Let's try it once more. Okay, I don't like the 2 people actually. I don't think that quite works. I'm going to take this guy and I'm going to make him later. So he won't appear in the animation until later on. I don't know which one he is. He's not that one. He must be this one. No, he's not that one either. This one. There we go. Okay, so let's, if we press U, that brings up all of these points. And these points are called keyframes. So we're going to change the position when he appears. So we're going to do it there. And then what I'm going to do, because I think there's too much going on. So there's actually a mistake there. Can you see how that person is going ahead of her legs? So he should be behind that, not in front of it. I think I can fix that. You'll tend to find that there are lots of little mistakes as you do animation. So if I drop him behind her, there we go. He's now behind her. So all I had to do then was to just move him behind her layer. And then he's the same. He's over the top of her. We don't want that. So we take the red person again and we move him behind her as well. I don't want the 2 of them going down the hole at the same time. I want one, that one, and the case. And then I want a bit of a space. And then we'll have the other one. So what you do is you select red person there. See this layer. And then I just select the layer. Hold it down with the mouse. And then just drag it. And now it's going to start there. Yeah, except the case is still moving so much, you're going to move it even later than that. Let's see if he disappears by the end of the shot. He doesn't, actually. So what I might do is speed it up. So again, if I press U, that brings up all of the keyframes. And we're just going to grab these and we're going to drag them before the end of the shot. So he's actually going to disappear before the end of the shot. Okay, let's have a look at that. Yeah, I mean, it's all right. I don't think it's great. So, again, what we're going to do is we're going to make him bigger because it doesn't quite work, I don't think. So, there. Let's try that. That's better. Okay, but he's moving a bit funny. I would tend to move that. You can just click the points and move them in the direction that you want him to go in. So let's have a look. Yeah, he's not. What's happening is that he's not getting small enough, fast enough. So let's really bring that down. Let's try that. Yeah, that's better. And then we're gonna make him disappear slightly quicker, actually. Yeah, that's nice. But what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to speed it up even more. So I just take the end points and bring them forward. Let's have a look. There we go. So what I'm now going to do, I like that, but I think it could actually be better. So I want to move him even further into the image, like this. So I like him there. So we're going to actually start him there. So what should happen now is that he goes through... didn't. Let's try this then. Let's try that. There we go. That's a bit better. Let's have a look at that. Again, grab the start of the clip there. Yeah, like that. That's good. Yeah. He seems a bit stiff to me, so I'd like him to rotate. So maybe what we could do is we could rotate him in. So he goes, ooh. And then by the time he gets to the end, we'll rotate him like that. And then we take that point there and we just bring it to the end. And so he should now roll over as he goes. Yeah, that's nice, but we can do more than that, I think, actually. There, we can do that. Yep, there we go. That's nice. And then the thing I would probably do, a lot of animation, by the way, is just going back and changing things until you're happy with them. That's how I do it. So this case, it's nice, but I don't really feel like it's moving properly. So what I'm going to do is take the case, press U, bring up all the keyframes, and we're going to rotate it, I think. So let's have a look. Let's start it like that. So I can take that keyframe and drag it over the other one, and that now becomes the first point there. And then when it disappears, let's rotate it. So let's, again, in the same direction as the other case, we're rotating it round, and let's move it to the end of that. Yeah, that's good. Let's have a look. Yeah. That's nice. So let's have a look at the whole shot now. So see if we've got it together. Should almost be finished. Just grab the end of the blue bit there, drag that out, rewind the playhead to the start of the timeline, and let's have a look at that. I mean, it's okay. I like the second bit. I feel like the case and the person happen at the same time, and you can't really see what you're looking at. So I would take this case, which is this one. I'm actually just going to delay it, so I'll just move it along the timeline, so it won't start immediately. So the person goes, and then the case, and then the next case, and then the next person. And what I might even do is take this case and move this so it's later as well. So let's play that. Yeah, this is almost it. Let's bring this forward, I think. There's the person, and there's the case there. So I think, is it that case? No, it's the other one. Probably there. Let's try that. Yeah, I like that. That's good. Okay, so we've got a couple of problems there. I don't know if you see. You can see that the image is actually... it's actually not in the right place there. So I'm going to take the background and scale that up slightly so it fills the frame. Let's play that again. Okay, I mean, pretty much all of that is now working. I'm not sure about the background. I don't think that's quite right. So I'm actually going to move it closer to the foreground, to the characters. So you can see now it's in front of the characters and then it's moving behind them. And I'm just doing that by clicking on the position here, the third position. The other way you can do that is, as I showed you, holding down the Z and dragging it up and down. And if you hold down Shift and drag it up and down, it makes it move a lot more. So let's see, let's do it there. Let's do that and then press S for scale and let's shrink it down. Let's have a look at that. There we go. Can you see how there's a lot more movement in the background now? That's quite nice. Now, something you can do, if you have any problems, you can actually go back into Photoshop and change the file that you're working on. So, for example, there's a bit of a mistake here, if I show you. See, there's a hole here, and you can see through that plant. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to fix that. So I go into Photoshop. There we go. So open that. Turn off the extras there. Okay, and look for thistle. There it is. There's thistle. Let's zoom into the bit that's not right. And then let's select that. There we go. Let's press I. And then B for brush. Let's just paint in there. There we go. That's it done. Control D. And then just save it. Control S. Now we can close this. And what you'll see is it fixes it. So you can change things in Photoshop and it will affect what's happening in After Effects. So if you need to change something, you don't need to worry about it. You can do that and you'll be able to see the changes as you're animating it. Okay, so we're just going to finish off now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to add a wiggle to the animation to give it a sense of wind and as if the camera's being blown about. So it's quite easy to do that. What you do is you create a new adjustment layer again. So you right click in the space below your layers, go new and adjustment layer, and let's rename that wiggle. So now we've got a wiggle there, and as you can see, if you type in wiggle in the effects, it'll bring up this, and I go for wiggle position. So I grab that, drag it over, and drop it on the wiggle layer, and now we can change the position of the image. So when I play it, you'll see it wiggles like that. So we just want it to be a bit faster. So let's say we want it to wiggle 9 times per second, and we want it to wiggle by about the amount of 4 pixels. So let's have a look at that. No, not really. So let's make it 7 pixels. So look at that. Yeah, that'll do. That's good. So save that. But as you can see, there's spaces along the bottom of the picture there. So the way I'm going to fix that is I just select everything with the mouse, everything other than the motion blur, and then I right click and I go to pre-compose. And what that does is makes a folder, and you can name it something like finished animation. Go OK on that. There you go. It's now in a folder. And so you'll see there's still the space there. So what we do is we just press S, and let's just make that a little bit bigger. And now you don't see the edges. Okay, and then we just add the motion blur back on over the top, and that's it. So let's have a look at that. Just let that load and then show you the animation. Okay, so that's what the animation looks like. There's actually a little problem with it, which is you can't see into the hole here, the storm that's sucking things in, so we're actually just going to fix that. Let me just have a look and see where that's gone wrong. It's inside the folder, so if you double click on the folder, you can go back into it. I'm just going to select the background here, and I'm actually going to drag it down so that we really see it. There, and let's just click back on the, let's close that. There it is. And then we just turn off the motion blur again. Let's just check that's working and it's not showing us the edges. Yep, so that's good. So I'm actually going to fix this as well because you can't really see the... So you can't see the hole there, so I'm actually going to start with that. So double click on that again, go to the camera, press U, that shows you your key points. We're actually going to change this. We're going to move this over to here. That's about right. Let's go back to that one and have a look again. That's better. And then I don't quite like how this is doing that. Let's have a look. Just going to have a look and see if there's one more thing we can do about this because it doesn't feel quite right to me. So I'm actually going to move the camera back and maybe position it a little differently at the very end of the shot. Like that. Let's have a look. Okay, let's play that. Okay, so what I want to do is one last thing. I don't like that the camera doesn't stop moving. I actually want it to stop. And I want it to stop there. I don't want it to stop here. I actually want the camera to stop around there. So I just click here on this dot. That makes a new keyframe. I'm going to get rid of the other one. And what you can do is you can click on the dot and then right click it and go to keyframe assistant again, and where it says easy ease, you can, instead of doing that, you can set it to easy in. And what that means is it will slow it down as it reaches that dot. It just slows it down a little bit. And I'll show you it without. Just stops. Can you see it? Just stops. And so we don't want it to do that. We actually want it to be a bit softer. So just go ease in. And if you do ease out, which is at the start of the clip, it will actually it will get quicker. So it will start slowly and then speed up. And then it will slow down again. So that's what that means. But we don't need one at the start. Okay. And that's pretty much it, I think. Let's just check that once more. Okay. So that just leaves one last thing to do. And you may notice this in the animation, is that it has a slightly different look to it. It doesn't look quite like this. It looks as if it's drawn on paper. And there's a reason for that, and that's because what I like to do, and I'll show you this now, is I like to find pictures on the internet of photocopy paper. So I'll show you that. Photocopy paper texture. So I'll do that. There we go. I select images, and let's have a nice one. Something you think you can use. It's going to have to be quite big, so we'll go into our tools and size and larger than that one. So it's a fairly large size. What's that? Yeah, I quite like that. Let's go with that, just as a test. Let's save it in there, and we'll go paper texture 1. And what I'll show you is, let's see, watercolor paper texture. So I'll show you that one as well. And again, it's a large size. Yeah, that's quite nice. Save that image. Paper texture 2. So that's us, so we can get rid of that. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go up here. If you click in the corner there, it'll open your bin, your folders, and double click on the space there. And then we're going to go into here, and we've got the 2 papers, so I click one of them, hold down hold down shift and select the other one as well, import those 2, and now you can drag that down onto the timeline, and you can scale it So it's about that size. Then all you need to do is where it says normal, click on that and change that to multiply. Or you can change it to overlay. Overlay is quite nice, I think. Or soft light. That's quite good. Or hard light. And another one I think I use quite a lot is screen. There we go. Let's have a look at that. Now that's made the image a bit brighter. So I don't really want to do that. So do overlay and then... Yeah, we'll do that. And then what we want to do is just click levels. So type in levels in our effects and drag that onto the paper. And then we can change the brightness of the overall image until we're happy with it. Now you might not want to do this, but I quite like it because it gives it a nice paper texture. I'm going to lower the opacity of that. There we go. So I quite like that. Let's have a look. Let's have a look without it and with it. See, it just creates a nice effect there. And let's try the other one. So this is the watercolor paper. Scale that up so it covers the whole page. And let's go for screen. No. Let's try overlay. Multiply. Multiply. There we go. That's nice. So that gives it a sort of paper texture. And then we can play that. I think that works quite well. I'm going to go with that one for today, I think. So I'm going to just lower the opacity again. So it's only got a little bit in there. Let's have a look at it at full quality. What I'm doing here is I'm just changing the quality, so it's half quality, full quality, and this is using a graphics card to render it, and this is just in the computer. So you can just see what it'll look like when it's finished. So there you go. I think that's it. And the last thing I'm going to do is switch the motion blur back on. There you go. And that's it. So that is the shot finished now, and then we just need to save it. So the way you do that is make sure that you don't have any of the layers selected. And then you just go up into composition and where it says add to render queue, you click on that. And then you've got render settings, an output module. If you click on the blue bit where it says lossless and you change that to whatever format you want to turn this video into. So I'm going to turn it into QuickTime. And what have I got installed on here? I'm going to turn it into this one, which is DNxHHR. Go OK on that. There's no sound, so I'm going to turn the sound off. I go OK on that. And then the last thing you need to do is where it says output, just click on that and save it in the folder you want it to be held in. So animation example. That's the name of the file for me. Let's save that. And then the last thing, you just press render. And that will take a little while to animate, but hopefully not too long. And that's it. So I hope that was helpful for you. And I hope you enjoyed learning how you draw, color, animate a shot. If you have any questions, you can email me them directly. So good luck with your animations, and I hope to see your results soon.